Hello everyone, how are you? Today in this episode I show you my PRS SE Zebrawood. So PRS, word synonymous with quality, or is it? Stay tuned to find out. Hello everyone, how are you? This is yours truly, Triple G, coming at you once again. Today is August 11th, 2018. Alright, so as you heard in the opening audio sample, and you've seen the guitar here and there. So this is the PRS SE Zebrawood. So obviously, look at this top, just the top is actually what made me get the guitar. I own US made PRS like the Tremonti 10 top. I also own a 25th anniversary custom 24 in Angry Larry finish. Spectacular guitars. I also have a SC245, I think. And then I do have another SE, also Tremonti model. So I have that, and then in the past I've owned a couple other different various SE models. So I'm not unfamiliar with the line. Now this is the very first PRS SE I've seen actually, and I accidentally actually saw this as I was trying to tune this thing. Normally PRS SE that I've come to have known are from Korea and made in a world music instrument factory or whatever, right? And they are known to produce really quality instruments. Actually, obviously, Paul Reed Smith himself wouldn't extend that OEM contract to just any factory. So they would extend it to somebody that he has faith in to be able to produce quality instruments. So this here is made by a company called Cortec Musical Instrument, and it's an Indonesian built. So this is the first Indonesian built PRS SE I've got to own. And if you just kind of take a glance at it without paying attention, you wouldn't have noticed because the font and everything is the same. So let's briefly talk about the guitar. It is the mahogany back, nice belly cut right here, and that actually I've learned to appreciate the belly cut more because the Jericho Fusion, which I unboxed, which I'll link right here, which I unboxed a couple weeks ago, maybe last week, does not have that belly cut when being that it's a Telecaster body. So that kind of digs into your rib a little bit. So anyhow, mahogany back, maple top actually, and then there's the zebra wood veneer. The zebra wood looking just absolutely spectacular. The neck is a 3-piece maple neck. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the glossy finish. And then rosewood fretboard, and then, you know, notorious PRS birds, and which I think is a classy touch. I don't know if it's going to catch on the camera. The headstock is also matching the body zebra wood veneer finish, which just looks awesome. And then the guitar is bound all the way, the neck, headstock, the body, everything, and it's not like pure white. It is kind of yellowish, the aged look. So that is good. And then the neck profile is what they call pattern thin. So that's what that is. And then it's got the volume and then tone, and then you could coil tap using the tone knob, 3-way switch, PRS import trim, and then the pickups, zebra wood, zebra coil pickups. These are what they call 8515 pickup, but there's a designation S. So these are probably the US spec, but wound and made out of country and imported. I do have two other PRS US guitars which sport 8515 pickups. I have CE24, and then I have Custom 22, which are US made, and those have the 8515 pickups. But these are 8515S. So maybe I'll do some sort of a comparison out of the 3 guitars later on down the road to kind of compare, you know, what the differences are, you know, the pickups wise, even though they're the same pickups. So that and PRS, you know, tuners, nothing, and I'll get to this. I'll get to the tuners in a bit. So that kind of rounds out the specs of the guitar. So here's the deal. All the SE guitars I've owned in the past, and the one I own still, never really had an issue as far as quality is concerned. I love the appearance of this guitar. It plays fantastically. However, I do have problems with this guitar, as you have come to know, and I tell you exactly how it is, because, you know, I buy all my guitars. And so what I am noticing is this. Out of the box, the guitar is wound with 1046 gauge strings. So even fresh out of the box, I could tell the 6th string and the 4th string were grabbing at the nut. So as I was just kind of doing a check, you know, when you get a guitar, you always have to check if everything's all right. And I'm just kind of going through, and I noticed the string is getting caught right at the nut, especially the 6th string and the 4th string. So that I knew I was going to have a problem, because, you know, the factory gauge strings should not be grabbing at the nut. So that was a problem. But to demo this guitar, I needed to tune down the guitar, so I went and grabbed a different gauge strings. What was it? 1052. So what does that mean? That means the grooves in the nut have to be widened enough to accommodate thicker gauge strings. So if they were grabbing at 46 gauge, obviously 52 is definitely going to grab. So I didn't have the necessary thin enough a file to file this down. So I did grab something that I could use, and I did the best I could do to give it a little bit more spacing on 4th string, 5th string, and the 6th string to kind of widen the each groove for those strings especially. And later on, I had to do it for the 3rd string as well, which I'll get to. So even with that, apparently I didn't file the nut enough. So even now they're actually grabbing. So you will find that out that situation more and more as you're tuning this guitar. I've had a hell of a time keeping this guitar in tune. Matter of fact, the guitar kept going in and out of tune whilst I was recording, so that presented a huge problem. So there is going to be probably some bum notes in there. So that's a problem. And these tuners, it's the same looking tuners I've seen on all the other SE guitars. I don't know what the difference, what the differences are, but basically trying to tune the 6th string to C, I had such a small sweet spot where I could hit that note dead on. So it would go, go from B and then very small gap for C, and then it will go to C sharp. So that was really tough. And then because the nut is grabbing the string, again, it could be fixed with the proper filing down the road. Because there's also additional situation of grabbing that's going on at the nut, it was an absolute bitch to get this thing tuned. And the G string, which you would find more often on like a Les Paul because of the severe angle right at the nut to go to the tuning head. Keeping G string in tune on the Les Paul is problematic. You're gonna have less of that problem on a PRS because the strings are, it is angled right at the nut, but not as severe. However, I could not keep the 3rd string in tune either. So just overall, had a very difficult time. Maybe I wouldn't have had any of these problems if I kept it as standard tuning with the 1046. But guitar needs to be versatile enough, and and at the same time, if you are going to down tune and use the thicker strings, you do have to pay attention to the nut each grooves. So you do have to file those down if you are going to do that. But like I said earlier, right out of the box, it was already grabbing right at the nut. Set aside from that, so the nut could be dealt with. I'm going to go get thin enough of files to get that dealt with. The tuners could be replaced. I did get the guitar at a really good price. So even if I have to spend literal money on the tuners, I'm not going to bitch too much, but I just feel like you're getting a PRS, although it's an import, because it is such a solid, it's been a solid import line for so long. I wish I wouldn't have had to do that. Is it a coincidence that it's Indonesian made? I don't know. I'm not sure if that should have any, difference, because I'm assuming the tuning heads are the same ones as the ones that were used in Korean factory. So set aside from that, build quality is just solid. The control cavity, it's recessed, so the cover is flush with the body. Although they didn't do that for the trem cavity here, the cover sticks out. That's that, and the high fret access is obviously easy. The knobs are just really frictionless. They're very smooth. Other than those issues that I've mentioned, it's really a solid guitar. And not only that, it's a stunning looking guitar. I love the Zebrawood top that carry through the headstock as well. And the PRS neck profile is very comfortable to play with. Even though they call it pattern thin, I don't find it thin enough for my very small hand. As you guys know, if you have been watching my videos, I tend to prefer something like the Wizard neck from Ibanez, which is a lot thinner than even this. And then another problem with this guitar, which, okay, so it's not a problem because, it may not bother a lot of you. The glossy finish neck is something that I absolutely can't do without. So it's hot as ballsy here in Southern California lately. Obviously, it's August. And, a little hot in here because when I'm recording, I don't have the fan on or anything like that, so that extra noise doesn't get in. So it's a little bit warmer in the room where I'm at, and I may have been sweating a little bit. So towards the end of the session, it got a little bit sticky, and there's a bit of a friction, bit of a grab right at the neck as you go up and down. So if you are a sweaty dude, you're sweating on the stage, whatever, then may be a problem with the glossy neck. So that about does it for the guitar, right? Is there anything else I've missed? No. So the mahogany, by the way, the mahogany body is a two-piece, and then zebra with the veneer looks like it's book matched, but don't quote me on that. It may not be. It's just really good looking. Just very, very good looking. Just pleasure to play with. I just need to deal with the issues that I have mentioned. All right, so other than that, that pretty much sums it up for this guitar. Quality instrument. You know, it's at that price range. I think its street price is about $815 or so. So I call about $600 to $900 a sweet spot where a lot of companies put out guitars. You know, your Charvel Pro Mods are going to be in that price range. Your ESP LTD 600 series may be in that price range. You know, the PRS SEs are going to be around 600 to 900 range. So it's a very competitive market. And if somebody asks, you know, what's the best guitar I could get in that price range, you know, PRS SE line will always be, you know, one of the ones that I would recommend because of, you know, quality that you get with the, you know, craftsmanship and just value overall. It's just really hitting the spot. Obviously, PRS had to move the factory from Korea to Indonesia to combat the increasing labor costs. You know, it's going to be cheaper to produce these things now in Indonesia. A lot of companies have moved to Indonesia. So where the Korean factories were maybe 5-6 years ago, you're going to see those coming out of Indonesian factories, regardless of who the maker is. Jackson, Ibanez, PRS, ESP, you know, what have you. And at the same time, Indonesian factories have ramped up their quality a lot over the last 4 or 5 years. So with that, I would wrap this gear review chat. As always, I have gotten a little bit more wordy than I want it to be. So that's it for this episode. Probably come back with the Jericho Fusion chat, which I unboxed a couple weeks ago. So that would be the next video. So until next time, you guys all take care. Be good humans.